A U.S. Hellfire missile has just crippled a commercial ship in the Gulf of Oman right in the middle of an active ceasefire. The clock is absolutely ticking here. Welcome to today's Explainer. I'm going to be walking you through this as if we're sitting down for strategic briefing, looking at the exact data points of a situation that is, frankly, evolving by the minute. So as military policy advisors, we need to pinpoint exactly where the operational friction is happening right now. Our briefing docket today covers 5 key areas. 1. The Gulf of Oman strike. 2. Enforcing the U.S. blockade. 3. The Strait of Hormuz dispute. 4. Casualties and escalating risks. And 5. Pending peace deal determination. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The Gulf of Oman strike. Naval incident involving the MV Leon Star. Okay, let's dive into this.
To really grasp this escalation, we have to look at the exact sequence of events. Step 1. The Gambia-flagged MV Lion Star is cruising through international waters, and it makes a direct approach toward an Iranian port. Step 2. U.S. Central Command forces intervene, and they don't just send a casual radio check, they issue over 20 warnings to the vessel. 20! You can practically feel the tension. But the ship doesn't comply, so that triggers Step 3. A U.S. military aircraft actually fires a Hellfire missile right into the ship's engine room. Right now, as we're talking, that vessel is just sitting completely adrift out there in the Gulf of Oman. U.S. forces haven't even boarded it yet. It's a massive, highly kinetic move just to stop this ship from running the blockade.
Section 2. Enforcing the U.S. blockade, the operational timeline. Let's move to and see how this builds.
This timeline perfectly captures how precarious things really are. On February 28th, U.S. and Israeli strikes kick off the war. Then, on April 7th, we get a fragile ceasefire. But just 10 days later, April 17th, the U.S. launches a blockade of Iranian ports. And that brings us straight to the May 30th missile strike on the Leon Star. Think about that for a second. We have an active ceasefire running concurrently with this incredibly aggressive blockade enforcement. The clock is literally ticking toward a renewed conflict if this fragile balance snaps.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that the Leon Star strike wasn't just some one-off event. It's part of a massive, sweeping operation. To enforce this blockade, U.S. Central Command has actively disabled 5 commercial vessels, and they've redirected 116 others to ensure they have zero access to Iranian ports. It's an undeniably effective tactical operation, but, it requires just constant vigilance and an overwhelming show of force to maintain.
Section 3. The Strait of Hormuz dispute. Strategic contrast to blockades.
This specific dispute is really the main roadblock to any kind of broader peace talks right now, because both sides are completely at odds over who controls the Strait of Hormuz. It's a clash of strategies. On the one hand, the U.S. blockade in the Gulf of Oman is targeting non-compliant vessels, specifically to cut off access to Iranian ports. But on the other side, the Iranian strategy is to attack commercial vessels, to effectively shut down the entire waterway outright. So we've got 2 very different operational goals, and they're colliding to create an incredibly dangerous bottleneck in the region.
So, why does the Strait of Hormuz matter so much to global stability? 1/5. That fraction is absolutely crucial. That represents the portion of the entire world's oil trade that relies on this specific, now closed waterway. To put that into perspective, with Iran effectively closing it down, the global economic stakes literally couldn't be any higher. We aren't just talking about a localized skirmish here, this is a massive global economic choke point.
Section 4. Casualties and escalating risks. The toll of Operation Epic Fury. Because frankly, we are looking at a region that is an absolute powder keg right now.
And the human and material costs here are very real and very heavy. According to the Pentagon, 13 U.S. service members have died and over 400 have been wounded in this operation. On top of that, the Congressional Research Service reported just last week that at least 42 U.S. military aircraft, which are mostly drones actually, have been lost or damaged since the war began. As advisors, we have to look at these grim numbers objectively. These are significant operational tolls that absolutely must be factored into our strategic calculus moving forward.
And this brilliantly illustrates how those historical costs tie directly into the immediate, pressing threats that could shatter this whole thing. That fragile April 7th ceasefire, it is severely threatened right now. We just saw a recent Iranian missile strike hit an airbase in Kuwait, which left several Americans injured. That is a massive, immediate escalation. Every single one of these actions incredibly complicates the ongoing efforts to end the U.S.-Iran war. We are without a doubt walking a very, very thin tightrope.
Section 5. Pending peace deal determination. White House Situation Room.
This brings us to the climax of today's briefing because strategic decisions are happening at the highest levels literally as we speak. In a recent statement, U.S. President Donald Trump noted he will, quote, make a final determination on a peace deal during an upcoming meeting in the White House Situation Room. The urgency here is absolute. The entire fate of the U.S.-Iran war, the continuation of these blockades, the stability of the global oil supply, the whole shebang hinges entirely on what comes out of that impending meeting.
So, as you process all the data from today's explainer, here is the question you really have to ask yourselves. Will aggressive operational enforcement, like, firing a Hellfire missile into a commercial ship's engine room, actually force compliance and secure the peace? Or is it going to be the spark that finally ignites the powder keg and shatters the ceasefire for good? Keep that delicate balance in mind as we watch the Situation Room in the coming days. Thank you for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.